Walk us through sort of the dynamics right now that you're seeing, at least in your core business.
Thanks, Carl. It's great to be here. Yeah, this was our sixth quarter in a row of double-digit top-line growth in constant currency. We grew 7% reported, 11% in constant currency. As I said, 6 quarters in a row of double-digit constant currency growth. And importantly, the bottom line grew at an accelerated pace, 21% growth in constant currency, 14% in reported. So what's most pleasing about the quarter, though, is growth was really broad-based. We grew our men's business, women's business, tops, bottoms. We grew all 3 regions. In fact, all 3 regions grew top and bottom line double-digit in constant currency. So the growth was really broad-based. Real strength in the Levi's brand, which was up 10%, but all 4 of our brands also grew this quarter. So barely a weak spot in the quarter, really strong, broad-based growth, clearly demonstrating that our strategies are working.
Chip Morgan here. In terms of that broad-based growth, just to drill down on one market in particular, Europe, I know it's been a real bright spot over the last couple of years. And we had ECB this morning and comments from that central bank about, increased risks to the downside, slowing global growth. We've got all this uncertainty that continues to swirl around Brexit. And, of course, those retaliatory tariffs in Europe on American-made denim. How do you assess that market right now, and how are you planning for what could be potential slowdown there, further slowdown there this year?
Europe has been a real bright spot for us, Morgan. It grew over 20% the last 2 years in a row, so we're really defying gravity over there when you consider all of the headwinds that the business has been facing. And that's in an economy that's growing a couple of points a year. So we've had really, really good success in Europe, and that success continued into this quarter. We grew 10%, comping 30% growth first quarter a year ago. So, the numbers are actually pretty staggering, and it really speaks to the strength of the Levi's brand. Having said that, one of the things as we did our call yesterday with analysts, we did not change our guidance for the full year. Which we've guided kind of mid-single digits. And part of the reason for that is there are still a lot of headwinds out there, not just in Europe, but we're facing continued door closures in U.S. wholesale. In Europe, we do have Brexit. We have a slowing economy across Europe, the risk of needing to take pricing because of currencies. So there are a lot of uncertainties still. China tariffs is another one. And since we're still early in the year, this was just our first quarter, which we've reported, there are downside risks as well as some upside opportunities for us. It's just too early to change our guidance.
Chip, give us some color on direct-to-consumer specifically and the higher end of your brand offerings. How is the growth in those in particular compared to those overall numbers you reported?
So direct-to-consumer is one of the 3 legs on our strategy, John. It's a really important part of building this brand. I'm a brand guy, as you know, and in our own stores and on our own e-commerce site, we can control how the brand shows up. Our DTC business has been growing double-digit for 12 quarters in a row, and it's growing consistently around the world. When we can control the brand and how the brand shows up as a true lifestyle brand, we can win. Our mainline business, which is the more premium part of our offerings around the world, is really strong across the world. And in fact, the strongest region for mainline right now is in Europe, having just talked about Europe. But strong growth really across the board in DTC. Strong growth in brick and mortar. We don't give comp store growth, but we did indicate in the call that we comped positively on a global basis. And really strong growth in our e-commerce business, up over 20% last quarter.
Hey, Chip, is this true? Your first visit to a foreign market following the IPO was to China?
It is indeed true. China is one of my top priorities, Carl. It's a huge market, a huge opportunity. What do we got to get done? We've got to get a lot done over there. I mean, it's only 3% of our business today, and when I look at some of our peers, it's up to 20%. I mean, Nike does 20% of their business today in China. it's a real big opportunity for us. We just hired a new managing director about 6 months ago for that market. She's Chinese, which helps a lot. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We do have a really strong brand, so we've got a foundation to build on there. But we've got a lot of work to do to really turn that business into the growth engine that it should be.
Chip, Amazon, friend or foe?
Both. They're a real valued customer of ours. They're in our top 10 customers and a fast-growing customer at that. But I also acknowledge and recognize that every transaction that they're transacting selling a pair of jeans, they're collecting a lot of data on our consumer that they could at some point, turn and use against us. They do have a private label denim, women's denim business right now, which so far hasn't seemed to negatively impact us. But every one of our customers has a private label business, so that's not something new to us. We've been dealing with private label for much longer than I've been around with the company, for 30, 40 years. So, but there's no question they are the main online shopping site. They've become kind of the Google for shopping. And we've had a presence there, and we have a really strong relationship with them with a strategic business plan on how we accelerate our growth there. And we value that partnership and that relationship.
Chip, been some headlines over the past couple days over Beyonce and this deal with Adidas. There's a different dynamic with celebrity endorsements and partnerships with brands than we've seen in the past. And I wonder if that's an area that Levi is going to explore in a different way than it has in the past. I think you tend to talk about, hey, this celebrity or that one is wearing our brand without a formal relationship. Do you need more formal relationships or different kinds of formal relationships?
Well, I do think, John, the best advertising still is word of mouth, and authenticity is such a big part of what this brand is all about. So, when Beyonce jumped up on stage at Coachella last year wearing a pair of 501 cutoff shorts, and it was posted on Instagram broadly all over the place, and that just happened organically, that's the best kind of marketing we can possibly do. And that's one of the great things about Levi's is so many things do happen organically. But having said that, we have had celebrity endorsements in the past. Alicia Keys, when we relaunched our women's business, Alicia Keys did the advertising for that. That was very, very successful. And oh, by the way, not just here in the United States, that ad tested best in China, believe it or not. And right now, Hailey Bieber is showing up at Coachella, and she's doing a lot of work for us right now on Levi's 501. So, celebrities do have a role to play. They're important in other markets outside of the U.S. as well, really important in China, as a matter of fact. But the best thing we can do is just having the brand show up organically, worn by people of all different backgrounds. And that's what's really worked for the brand the best over the last couple of years.
Interesting. Chip, you're a brand guy. To have an organic moment like that, is Insta the platform that you choose to have it on if you could?
Say it again, Carl? I'm sorry.
Is Instagram the platform that you would want to see moments like that happen?
I'll take any social media that generates a lot of eyeballs at this point. And, so whether it's Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook, the best thing that happens for this brand is when consumers post their moments of living in Levi's, which is our selling idea. Live in Levi's. You wear other jeans, but you live in Levi's. And the best marketing that can happen is when things happen organically in social media for us.
Chip, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk a little bit about manufacturing and where all of these jeans are made. I mean, you have the tax reform here in the U.S. that tries to incentivize more of that activity taking place here in this country. Meantime, all of these tariffs and sort of trade tensions playing out around the world. Have you considered changing, shifting, or expanding those operations based on the current conditions?
Well, we have a global supply chain, Morgan. I mean, we've got a big global business. We operate in 110 countries. So we manufacture in about 23 countries around the world today. and no one country represents more than 20% of our manufacturing base. So we do kind of diversify and play a portfolio of countries and suppliers, if you will. We have been working on technology that postpones finishing of jeans using lasers, and I've talked about it before on this show. It's a project that we call Project FLX. It actually started as a sustainability play, as a way to remove a lot of chemicals from the supply chain, which we've done very, very successfully. And we have a lot of IP around this Project FLX. We've filed for over 30 patents. 9 have already been issued. And what that allows us to do is postpone the finishing of the denim till the very last moment. And that way we will actually be finishing jeans much closer to market. Today, we're finishing about 20% of the denim that we're selling this season is being finished close to market and being finished using these lasers. We have lasers in our distribution center right outside of Las Vegas right now, and we finish product for Macy's and all the way through to our own mainline stores and out of that facility. So it's not all of the manufacturing, but it's the last stage in the manufacturing, and that gives us agility and speed to market and the ability to respond to moves in the marketplace much, much quicker.
Finally, Chip, I don't mean to put you in a tough spot, but those who watch IPOs over the past month are comparing yours to Lyft's, which is now down 15% in 4 days. And I just wonder, any advice that you have for companies coming to market? What do you think you did that worked relative to the Lyft IPO?
Well, I mean, one of the things I like to say, Carl, you know, we've been around for 166 years. There aren't going to be a lot of stories like ours. We've been around for 166 years. We've got an amazing brand with a big global footprint. We generate profits. We generate a lot of cash flow. We've got, you know, lots of cash in the bank, a really strong balance sheet. And oh, by the way, we paid dividends of $110 million this year. So we're a very different story than a lot of the tech IPOs coming to market. And I think that's one of the things that investors saw in our proposition. One of the reasons the stock, you know, we priced it above the range that we had on the S1, and the stock opened 22% higher than that and has kind of stabilized in about that range. So, you know, our story is a very, very different story than a lot of the tech stories. And I do think the strategy that we had from a pricing standpoint really worked. We were able to attract the kind of investors we really want in our stock, which are, you know, long-term. They really understood our story. They asked a lot of good questions. You know, I kind of view them almost as partners in the business with us now. They really do understand us, and I think they're gonna help us be a better company over the next decade or more.
Chip, we hope to talk to you many times over that period and beyond. Thanks again, Chip Bergh.
Thanks again,
Levi
Carl.
Strauss.
Thank you very much. Good talking to all of you. Thank you.